Am I the a-hole stories? Am I the a-hole for ruining both my parents' marriages, for disowning me? I am the byproduct of my parents' extramarital affair. Both of them had spouses at the time. My birth mother got pregnant and had to tell her husband, as he was overseas when I was conceived, so there was no way I was his. A few months after I was born, they decided not to divorce. I was given to my grandparents on my mother's side to raise, with my birth father secretly paying child support without his wife's knowledge. Both my parents had other children. My dad's side knows nothing about me, but my siblings on my mom's side were told that I am adopted by my grandparents. Recently, I decided that I wanted to know more about my dad's family, and I sent a friend's request to one of my siblings and my dad, so I could get to know him. Well, he freaked out and contacted my birth mom, and they asked to speak to me over Skype. They both told me that they couldn't risk staying in contact with me, and told me that they were going no contact and to please respect it and move on with my life. Well, I did pretty much the opposite. I contacted my dad's wife and shared screenshots of our conversations and told her everything. She is now divorcing him, while on my mother's side, I told both my siblings, who then went on to tell extended family including her husband's side, so now they are separated and my siblings hate my mother. Currently my siblings on both sides' lives have been upturned, and after the satisfaction has worn off I feel like I unnecessarily hurt them through my parents. Am I the a-hole for ruining my parents' marriages? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. You didn't ruin anything, they did. Your birth parents have been and continue to be completely selfish a-holes, and everyone deserves to see who they really were. The only people who upended anyone's lives are your parents. You did not deserve to be told to go away or hidden. Absolutely. They sound like horrible, selfish people. Understatement. I really feel for everyone who's been affected by their awful behavior. Not the a-hole. Your parents are freaking selfish. So many other options for them instead of just pretending like you don't exist. If you don't want your spouse to find out you cheated, how about not ducking cheat? All you wanted was a little contact with family. They rejected you. Well, they don't get to choose whether your half-sisters and brothers want to know you or not. Maybe sharing screenshots was not the right way to go, but honestly, if you keep such a huge secret from your spouse, you deserve to get found out eventually. Not the a-hole. It's really crappy that they would try to deprive you of having literally any family besides your grandparents, so that they can cover up their bad behavior. I don't blame you for what you did. You're definitely going to have to deal with the fallout, but at least you can now have a relationship with your siblings. I just cannot understand how they didn't think they'd eventually be caught, what with giving him to her parents to raise. They could have chosen a closed adoption, but no, mom wanted him close enough to watch grow up but not close enough to take any responsibility for him. I just cannot understand the thought process of keeping him so close when you wanted to keep him secret. Jesus. What awful people. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for being completely honest to my biological parents about how my childhood was really awful? I was given up for adoption right after I was born. Unfortunately, my adoption didn't work out and I grew up in foster care until I turned 18. I'm now 19 and in college. In February, I got a Facebook message from a man claiming to be my father. We messaged back and forth, and while I kept a lot of my childhood details private, we did make plans to meet him and my mother. They weren't married to each other, by the way. When I got to the restaurant, I was very shocked and honestly upset to find my father and mother had brought their spouses, as well as their children, to surprise me. My father's mother, so my grandmother, was also there. I was already feeling very emotional about the whole thing, and seeing everyone there didn't help. So, I sat through an hour of listening to them sharing all about their lives, while I fake smiled through everything. Honestly, I felt very jealous that they had kids they really loved, and how they all had really happy lives after ditching me. Then they started asking about me and my parents, and how my Facebook gave very little away about my life. I basically lost it, and started crying like a little bee, and told them how crappy my adoptive parents were, and how crappy foster life was. I was pretty snarky and sarcastic when I said that I'm glad their lives worked out for them, because mine sure as hell didn't. I couldn't stop crying and my father had to drop me back home. He was very apologetic. I feel very crappy about it. I made my mother and father cry at the restaurant. They were really nice people. I got a few messages from my mother and father separately, where they've been apologizing and if they could make it up to me. My mother in particular seems really upset by everything, and I hate that I may have messed up her happy life. Her last message basically said that she's been unable to sleep and wants to see me again. I've been ignoring their messages and just been focusing on school instead. Am I the a-hole? Maybe I should have been more honest before the meetup. Now for the top comments. No a-holes here. You have a right to your life. And they have probably spent the last 19 years, clinging to the idea that you had a better life than they could give you, being hit by the reality, that their happiness now is built on the opportunities they had by condemning you to misery, has probably hurt them quite a bit, but that's not your fault. Yeah, but they're pretty close to being the a-hole for bringing everyone with them to what should have been a personal meeting. They messed up, sure. Doesn't seem like they were being intentionally malicious though. Stupid, and hurtful, but I wouldn't judge them a-holes for it. No a-holes here, but it was a bad call. Not the a-hole. Bringing their families with them must have felt like a kick on the teeth, because it was a glimpse of something you never had. It was too much too soon. I can completely understand why this was overwhelming. Yes, that's just cruel, even if OP was raised in a happy household, not the a-hole. The bio parents sounded like they thought OP had a good life with adoptive parents and wanted to link the families. To their horror, that wasn't the case. They are still a-holes though. Not the a-hole. Hey, I hope you're alright. This sounds massively complex, and as if there is a lot of trauma. I don't think this is a case for this sub. Please reach out to a friend, maybe your university campus has a psychologist you could speak to? Wishing you all the best, an internet stranger. Thanks. I've just been very busy with school and it's kept my mind off this situation. I'll get therapy once I graduate and have health insurance lol. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for announcing that my birth parents abandoned me and potentially damaging their reputation? Throwaway and beyond, going to keep some details vague. I am a person in my teens, have some birth defects and was adopted at a very young age. Last week, it was broken to me that my birth parents are actually my adoptive parents' distant cousins. They gave me away for adoption and are now married and has a son, my biological brother, who had no idea that I existed. I have actually met the family twice during big family gatherings at my grandfather's house, and had no idea who they were. I guess it was kept a secret too, because nobody among the relatives talked about it. Just out of curiosity I looked up their contact details and messaged my birth mother. I love my adoptive parents, but I want to get to know my biological family a little more, especially my brother. He is 11 years old now, not that far from me. She asked me to not message or try to contact her family, before blocking me. I tried messaging my birth father, and he took very long to reply me. He was more patient, and explained to me that he wants me to put my focus on my adoptive parents, and we are all better off without each other. When I asked to talk with him face to face, he blocked me too. This just makes me so angry. They are not divorced or child-free, but they just gave me up for adoption? Is it because of my birth defects? I looked up into social media and saw that those two had quite some reputation as public servants. I sent emails with my pictures attached to their workplace and on social media, and announced that I am their kid. Take a good look at me, because this nice couple have given me up. Who knows, maybe they will even get into the local news. I admit I did it without consideration, and it may affect their job and my brother's too. I feel like if they had at least tried to talk with me nicely about it, I may not have done that. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. You're the a-hole, you did it for spite. Anytime you do something for spite, you are an a-hole. Edit, I also think that the person who outed the bio parents is a huge a-hole, but I would be very surprised if they did so, without giving OP some context as to the why they gave him/her up to another family. Honestly, what did OP expect to happen? If they wanted their biological parents' attention, they certainly have it now, but I doubt they'll want to ever speak to OP again. The bio parents probably view OP in such a bad light now, because OP has shown some really spiteful and manipulative behavior. Just because OP didn't get what they wanted, they air all their dirty laundry out on social media in hopes that this gets on the news? And they even contact their workplace? What if the bio parents get fired? Then the bio parents are going to run into financial issues, and the bio brother is obviously going to suffer from this as well. OP majorly messed up here, because they're never going to get what they want now. If the bio parents didn't want to talk to OP before, they are definitely not going to talk to OP now. Edit, you're the a-hole. Without a doubt you're the a-hole. Everything you did was out of spite and you had the intention of hurting your bio family. Lashing out never works, and I hope you grow up. You have two loving parents who chose to raise you as their own, and that's more than a lot of kids get. Be grateful for that at least. Everyone sucks here. I'm sorry they blocked you, and I can't imagine how painful that is. However, birth parents have no obligation to maintain relationships with the children they give up for adoption, and trying to ruin their livelihood and reputations out of spite isn't right. I don't understand why your mom told you their identity, given the inevitable outcome. Good luck to you. This is a difficult situation. Edit: I didn't read closely enough, and now I understand that you learned that you were adopted at the same time. Your parents should have told you they adopted you earlier. All of this is a lot to emotionally process. I'm sorry you're going through this, and I hope you can find some support. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to help my father, after he refused to help me years ago? My father was never present in my life, even after various attempts I made to have a real relationship with him. The little time I spent with him as child, he was very abusive. It took me longer than most to lose my baby fat, and he'd always make snark comments about it. He'd also compare me to every other child he knew, and I'd always not be as good as them. When I was 10, my mother was diagnosed with schizophrenia and depression. Things got really tough. We had to move in with my grandma, who became responsible for the both of us. Money was always tight. Mental illness treatment is very expensive in my country. My grandma tried to contact my father to ask for help with me, because it was really tough for me to see my mother in the state she was in. He always said he couldn't take me in or help with extra money, because he had a new family that needed his attention. After a while, he moved to the other side of the country and didn't talk to me for years. Eventually things got better, the meds started to work, and now you couldn't even tell my mother has any kind of mental illness. However, money was still short for us, especially after my mom got pregnant again. Even after the doctors said that was impossible, abortion is not an option in my country. After I finished high school, I had no hopes of ever going to college because we couldn't afford it, but my mom still made me take my country's equivalent of the SAT somehow. I got a 50% scholarship for one of the best schools in the country. The problem was, even with the scholarship, we still couldn't afford, and I couldn't work to pay for it because the school was in the next town, and I'd spend literally every time off in traffic. We also don't have college dorms here. At this point, my dad was back in town, so I decided to give it a try and contacted him to see if he could help. He wasn't rich, but he had money and was always doing stuff with his family, so I figured he would have at least a little to help me. But all he said was, "Can't help you, you know that. Just find a job." And after that, he never tried to contact me again. Right after that, my mom received a very high restitution from the state and literally gave it all to me. I went to college, graduated, got an amazing job, and now, I'm paying for my sister's college. Last month, my mom made a Facebook post, saying how much she was grateful to have me as her daughter, because I was helping with my sister's education. Then out of the blue, my dad decided to contact me, and ask for me to help with his other daughter's college too. I said I couldn't, because I was already paying for my sister's and I was saving to buy an apartment. I also said, that maybe she should get a job. I felt really great, but then he started to say I was being a vindictive a-hole. He made a Facebook post about it, and now a lot of people are agreeing with him, to the point where I'm reconsidering it. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Your father is an a-hole. There's no other way to put it. He doesn't help at all for your entire life to help his other family. Now that you can help him, he comes to you? Screw him. Don't help him. I like it how OP said the same on what her father said years ago. Edit. Wow, this really blew up. I decided to make this edit because it would take me forever to respond to every individual message. First, I want to thank you for how nice you all were. Second, I decided I won't be making a Facebook post to respond to him. A lot of you said, I should post my side of the story. But to be honest, I don't think people will care. The ones that are on his side, knows he was never present, and knows my mom was sick. They just think I should help because we're family and nothing will really change their mind. Thirdly, I decided to help his kids. I know I have no obligation to them. I know that maybe he's lying about his money problems, but it's just hard for me to see a person I'm technically related to, in a situation I struggled so much with. But I won't be giving them money per se. A very good friend of mine works teaching for a college in my city. It's far from the best school, but they offer a lot of scholarships and they are cheaper than most. He said he could get up to 25%. As I said, it's really not the best school, but it's still better than nothing if you're in need. They could try getting a loan for the other 75% or something. And that's it for this video guys. If you have thoughts to share, leave a comment below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you like this content. I'll catch you in the next one. Good day everyone.